Hello,
Hello, sir.
everyone. Welcome to this session. I'm happy to be here, and I hope all of you are able to hear me loud and clear. You can let us know in the comment section. So, well, this particular session is about the approach which you can take if you are looking to make a successful career in cloud, right? Um, I'll just tell you that how are we running the session. We have got 45 minutes here, and I would just like to go ahead and give you some thought, which I have based on my experience in the industry, what I've seen. I've tried to jot down few points which I'll try to explain you, and I'm sure that should help you if you're serious about making a career in cloud. There are a lot of we have a lot of information floating around in today's time, right? So we'll try to declutter some of that so that it becomes clear to you that how should you move forward. So we'll try to use, let's say, the starting 30 minutes for the overall presentation, and then we will spend last 15 minutes to do Q&A. So you can ask your doubts in the comment section, and I'll try to answer that. Okay, so that's our agenda for today. uh, Quickly about me, how all of you know my name already. I run a YouTube channel called Knowledge India. So if you'll visit youtube.com/knowledge india, you'd be able to see that. uh, there are some details or statistics about my channel here on the screen. I started this channel couple of years back, of course, but typically started making videos on AWS and cloud when I was seeing a lot of confusion among people trying to understand that which certification they should go ahead and do. And though we can go ahead and just answer that looking at one person's profile, that which certification would be suitable for you. But the important question is that why are people only talking about achieving a particular certification? So I made a video about that long back, and then after that try to make more and more videos trying to explain people about some smaller doubts, smaller concepts. People liked it, and we got into making even bigger videos. And there are certain topics on which probably our videos are one of the most watched videos on YouTube on that particular topic. So that's something to be slightly happy about. So we do conduct a lot of live sessions as well, and I love to interact with college students a lot. So I've done many sessions where I have done that interaction, and I'm really happy and looking forward to discuss with you guys as well today. So that's why we'll try to keep it interactive. The questions which you have or doubts which you have, we'll try to answer that as we move ahead. So let's understand, why is everybody is going crazy or talking about cloud all the time. Um, all of us understand. I'm not going to spend a lot of time that what are the benefits of cloud. At a certain level, all of you know these simple things, that you do not need to plan on demand availability. Whenever you want, you can go ahead and get the infrastructure, or you can go ahead and get any resource on cloud, and you can start your work quickly. You do not have to plan a lot. It's flexible. You can start it, use it for some time. You don't want it, you can switch it off, terminate it. Gives you flexibility. uh, these things coming together, it helps you, or it basically increases your ability to experiment. Organizations nowadays, what they want, they actually want ability to to go ahead and experiment really fast, uh, so that they can try a new concept and they get to know about the results. If it doesn't work, they try something else. And because of the cutthroat competition in the business which is there nowadays, people want to try things quickly. So cloud really helps you in doing that. And of course, doesn't matter you are a big enterprise or you are a small company with three young budding people coming together and building an organization based on an idea. You can go ahead and start really small on cloud, and then as you scale, or as you see growth, you may decide to spend more money, right? So all of those things most of us understand. But what is that one single most important thing which cloud has done, or the change which cloud has brought actually? That one single thing, if you ask me, the most important one is the ability to automate, the ability to program and get things right. So even in the earlier times, we had different data center providers, right? So if you wanted, let's say, a server to host a big website which you are running, maybe your college website, or tomorrow you start, you get into a startup, three of you work together and build a startup. So if you are doing that, you would require a server to host your website. Now, there were organizations even before where you do not need to go and maintain a data center. You can just easily go ahead and rent a server and put your website there. But in this case, you know you are not getting to do everything via program. For example, it was not possible that you can have a script which creates the server in the data center, and then when you don't want another script, just deletes the server, right? That type of ability to do things via code or to do things via API was not possible. So one of the biggest things which these cloud providers have brought, whether it is AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud, or any other cloud provider, one of the very important things which they have done is they have brought things to you in the form of an API call. So you want a database, it is an API call. You want a server, it is an API call, right? You want a queue or you want a notification system, it is an API call for you, right? And as most of you are are there in your college, um, I'm sure you have done some amount of programming, so what about what it is when we talk about calling an API or calling a function. It's not a very difficult thing. All you need to know is what is that API which should be called, what are the parameters which need to be passed, and then you can code it. So this is one very important thing which which these cloud providers brought and kind of offered it in a completely different manner. And because of this, what has happened, doesn't matter which IT organization you talk about, in today's time, they are they are touched by this cloud wave in one way or the other. Every organization is talking about cloud, because of some of these qualities. Now, I would like to focus on one topic before we go ahead. So we used to think this when we were there in college, and maybe some of you would think about this question while you are there in the college, that how relevant are the subjects which you are studying in the college. Are they really relevant? No, because you might not you might not hear those names a lot many of the times in the social media, etc. So uh, many of the times we feel that probably whatever we are studying in the college is very old, right? And we should just go and learn this cool fancy cloud thing and all. It's okay. I mean, it is good. You should go ahead and learn new things. No problem with that. But please understand there are certain things which are very important and which form the basics of any other system which you will deal with. So please make sure that certain important subjects like databases, networking, operating system, etc., you should not skip those. You should learn the concepts in that properly. Until the time you actually learn those concepts only in the format of, or I would say only if you try to pass the exam, it would not make a lot of sense. But you will have to like read that concept and then try to see that some industry scenarios where that particular concept is getting used. You guys are really lucky that all of these things are available to you on click of a button on internet these days. So any concept which you are studying in the database or in the networking, you should try and understand that what are its real usage in the industry. Maybe that particular real usage would not be there in your textbook in a very detailed manner, but thanks to internet you can go ahead and get those things nowadays. Another very important point is you cannot skip programming. I get a lot of messages or requests or comments on my YouTube videos. People, where people are saying that I don't know programming. Tell me how can I make my career in cloud, or what can I do in cloud? Uh, we have to understand, guys, that as I said in the previous slide, what the most important thing which these cloud providers have done is that they have made things available to you via an API call. So I was telling you, Creating a server is an API call, stopping a machine is an API call, rebooting it is an API call, terminating it is an API call, right? Resizing it is an API call. So whether we like this, whether we like it or not, we have to understand one thing, that you cannot skip programming. Okay, proficiency level might differ. I mean, maybe there is one of your friend who is, who likes programming a lot. He gets into all the complex data structures, etc. That person will have a different stream of work as he enters into industry. He might become a hardcore developer. Great. But let's say you are, you are second person. You are not that interested in programming. You want to go towards the infrastructure side, or let's say even the application architecture side. Even to do that properly, not, you know maybe you don't need to know the maybe you don't need to do programming to the to a very deep level, but you should know programming. uh, you cannot go ahead and automate things if you cannot script today. Okay, and it is becoming a very required item, that you should be able to go ahead and automate and script. uh, Almost in any job description nowadays, people want that you should be able to automate. You should have some proficiency level in programming, so you should be able to do something. You would have heard this term infrastructure as code nowadays. Because of all this automation coming into picture, and cloud guys bringing new things, even the infrastructure part is no more a physical activity, right? uh, like, even clicking on the screen, that part is removed. People have a big script which runs and sets up the complete environment for your application. It might involve a load balancer, 4 servers, a a multi-AZ database, maybe some bucket, and some other notification topics. All of this gets provisioned in couple of minutes by the execution of a template. So you need to learn coding. That is important. If you are a person who is saying, no, I'll not do it, I'm not interested in it, but I'll do something else. Okay, congratulations, try that. But it's my suggestion that your career would be better if you learn some amount of programming or development. Can I not just learn cloud? I'm not interested in what is being taught or what others are talking. I just want to learn cloud because I see numerous cloud related posts every day on LinkedIn or in the Facebook, right? We are all bombarded with all this cloud related terminology every day. So um, yes, you can go ahead and learn cloud alone, but please understand that uh, a particular organization or an employer will not value you much if you just know the properties of a particular cloud vendor services, right? I'll give an example. If I just go ahead and try to say that, I know AWS services very well, which means I understand how EC2 works, I understand how RDS works, how S3 works. If I just talk in that language, um, an organization is not gonna value me much. I should be able to relate the working of these cloud services with other things. I should be able to relate this sometimes with their on-prem working. Sometimes I should be able to listen to their requirement and say, because of ABC reason we'll use the service, because of DF reason we'll not use the service, right? That type of ability you will have to develop. Generally, people tend to think that whenever they are looking at a particular cloud service, if they are able to just talk about its features, it's all done. But that's not really true on the ground. uh, in industry, when you look at different scenarios, things are not just black and white, right? I mean, in most of the times when people are talking to you, people will say that, on cloud we do this and this. A lot of presentations you would have seen from different cloud vendors, where they try to say everything just happens so easily. But when you actually go and work in an organization, you will realize that it is not that simple. uh, the systems in the systems in any organization are not that simple as it is shown to you in many of the ppts from different cloud vendors. It is a lot more complex, and that's where it becomes very important that you understand the internal working of different systems, right? That becomes really really important. So some examples are, you need to understand different network protocols. You need to understand which one is better. In what scenarios should we use a particular protocol? In what scenario we should not use it? You should understand how does the relational database work. How is it different from a NoSQL database? Is NoSQL database good or better in all the scenarios, or there are certain specific scenarios only where I should suggest this? I remember there was a phase in between where nearly everybody used to just say Hadoop. You throw any problem, and the solution which people would say is Hadoop, as if Hadoop can solve any problem in the world. So don't get affected by 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 all this lot of social media thing which happens. Rather, try to get to the basics and try to understand things in detail, right? And any one technology cannot be fitted in every scenario. So it is very important to understand that in which scenarios only this particular thing can work. Try to ask the question in that way always. Moving ahead, the infrastructure part, infra management even is getting reduced, because of the increased automation. There was a time when a lot of Indian companies earned and made a lot of money because there were jobs like where people were sitting and looking at the servers. They were monitoring the servers. It used to be a manual activity, right? uh, a lot of Indian companies have made a lot of money by putting people offshore just monitoring the servers, for the companies which are there in US, UK, etc. But now, with whole automation, all of such jobs are going away. You talk about monitoring, you talk about patching the servers, all of these things are automated. So you don't need that many human resources involved in just doing these things. There are systems which can do it for you and give you a report with which you can go ahead and just take actions against something where things went wrong. So you don't need to do it manually. Okay. So what are organizations looking for? Many of you are going out in the are going out of the college very soon. You will pass out, and then after that you will enter this industry. So what are organizations looking for? Organizations are looking for professionals who can experiment, okay, and evaluate the results quickly. The competition is really intense these days. So any business would want to try out a new thing quickly and get a feel or confidence around whether something is even doable or not. So in order to take that decision, we need to do, like, professionals should be able to do that quickly. And then uh, you know uh, based on that, you either take that particular solution or you go ahead and try something new. In many of the organizations, what is happening, people are very happy about this thing that, yeah, on cloud you can go ahead and create a machine in 5 minutes. People boost about it, but they have not been able to improve their process or people mentality to actually value the overall time. So yes, I can go ahead and get the infrastructure in 5 minutes, but what is the use if my processes are so old that I'm still wasting time in every step? Okay. And hence, any testing or any proof of concept which I need to do, I'm not able to do it quickly. So try to think on those lines. Organizations are looking for those people who are open to learn and work on any cloud platform. Many of the times you would have seen this thing, people trying to debate around a particular cloud platform, that AWS is best or Azure is best or Google Cloud is best, right? Um, we used to have a version of this debate in our college where people used to debate between Windows and Linux operating systems, saying that Windows is better or Linux is better. um, X number of years in the industry now, but I still see Windows and Linux, both of them are there in the market and are getting used. It's not that one out of the two is gone, right? It's not the case. So we have to understand that at least three cloud providers, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud, all three of them featured recently in the Gartner Magic Quadrant leaders quadrant, right? So all three of them are quite mature now, and they offer most of the services, kind of similar type of services, but of course there are differences between them. And as a professional, I would suggest to you guys that you should try and be agnostic to the cloud. Don't get attached to a particular vendor, right? There is something good in AWS, there are some better qualities in Azure, and there is something else better in Google Cloud, right? So as a professional, I think it's important that you understand which services are better or stronger in which cloud provider. And also you should skill yourself in such a manner that when you work for a company tomorrow, you should be able to handle multiple clouds. It might happen that you join an organization after college, they are using AWS currently, but then they decide to also use Azure or Google Cloud. So you should be able to operate in both. And trust me, 50-60% of principles remain same between different cloud vendors. Some amount, of course, it changes, but most of it is same. So keep that in mind. And in order to come into that position that you are able to compare different cloud vendors, you know it's important that you get into the depth of the services. You just do not understand, I mean, you should not be just reading that a particular service has these qualities or attributes. You should try to understand the limitations as well. When you do a certain operation on a service, what happens at the back end, you should try and understand that as well. That's important. Okay, then only you'll be able to compare the different cloud providers in future. Um, the last point here is, try to build this into your mentality. Organizations want people who can adapt a process to a factory model. Okay, so what does that mean? What is a factory model? Think about a factory where a car gets manufactured, or a bike gets manufactured. So in order to produce a car, there are so many different components in a car, and within a factory there are different units which are manufacturing all of those different parts, and then this comes together, gets assembled, and you get one working car delivered after that. Kind of same thing um, is being done in IT as well. And and it is important, it is really important for you to try and think in this terms. Like, let's say you join an organization and you see that this organization currently uh, you know gives access to different people on the cloud console, so that they can go ahead and create the resources according to their need. Now you, as a person, you have been tasked that go ahead and improve this process. So what will you do? You'll have to try and think that, okay, if they are creating resources on their own, that means what could be wrong. First good thing is they have the flexibility and agility, that they can create whenever they want. Great. But should they be able to create any number of instances? Should they be able to create really big instances as well? Probably no. So that is something I want to restrict. Note it down. Okay. What about the scenario if they go ahead and create an infrastructure and expose it to public? Maybe they go ahead and set up a database and expose it to public. So what mechanism should I bring, so that even though I allow them to provision, but they should not be able to provision a database and expose it to public? So in order to do that, what services do I have? How can, whether there is even a possibility to do that? Are there cloud native services to support me in that scenario? Those are the type of things which you will have to think about, and then you bring it in the process, so that in your organization things do not go wrong. Okay, that is something which you have to work towards. And organizations want such people who can have this type of thinking, and basically make the process in such a way, via automation or via other restrictions, make the process in such a manner that people are able to use it and still things do not go wrong. Okay, so I'll try to wrap it up quickly now. How should you start learning cloud? Remember one thing, learning cloud is not just passing a cloud certification. Those of you who have watched videos on my channel, you would be knowing this. I talk about this every time. It is important that you do certification. It is good that you do certification, but then remember, learning and working is a lot more than passing a certification. Okay, so couple of things. Make sure you're not skipping following subjects in your college. Important ones are databases, programming. When I say programming, it could be anything. Doesn't matter what's the language. It is C, C++, Python, Java, C Sharp, any one language. Just go ahead and learn any one language. Okay, that will help you. Networking, data structures, operating systems, and software engineering. I recommend you guys that please make sure that you go through these subjects very, very seriously. Spend some more time reading these, books around these subjects. That will surely help you. It might not make you a lot of sense at this point, but in a couple of years, you'll realize that. I have realized it in a hard manner. So I'm suggesting it to you. Make sure you do provision and use every service you're trying to learn. um, all these different cloud vendors, they are giving you services, so that you can go ahead and use it free. Now you cannot go ahead and use everything for free, remember. I mean, it also differs from one cloud to the other, but then suggestion is that make sure that whenever you are reading or trying to practice a particular service, you go ahead and do hands on. That's very, very important. Most of the things you will be able to get free. uh, for certain things you might have to spend some money. Do that. It would be worth. If you are doing hands on and you have done things really in the account, by creating an account, by doing it hands on, that will surely reflect when you start talking to a person in an interview, or you are put into a situation, that would come out. So that's a good investment. Do that. uh, as you are there in college, there are a lot of different programs available from different cloud vendors. Like there will be some academy program, free tier benefits are there. You should explore those and try to save money as well at the same time while you practice things. Uh, Follow the blog, whichever cloud you are learning, follow their blog. The cloud vendors change things so rapidly, right? I mean, on an average, AWS brings like around around five updates, feature updates, I would say, nearly every day. So that becomes a lot to handle. Even people who are quite experienced, for them it is a lot to handle. So I suggest that you follow their blog, so that you get updated of the changes which are happening. So someone might say that, okay, whenever I study a particular service, what should I look at? What should I concentrate on? So I'm giving you five things which you should try to think about. Whenever you're reading or practicing a particular service, try to see its cost. How does its cost work? You should be able to explain the costing to someone. Think about yourself as a cloud architect, and the organization for whom you are working. You should be able to explain that when they use a particular service on cloud, how would its cost work, and what are the ways to optimize the cost as well. If I want to lower down the cost, what are the things which I should do? Second is security. As a customer, when you are using a particular service, what are your responsibilities as a customer? What all things cloud vendor will take care? And from your side, what all things are there which you need to take care? This also gets covered in the shared responsibility model. Many of the times, people think that when they go to cloud or they host something on cloud, everything is taken care by the cloud vendor automatically. Unfortunately, that's not true. Okay, you need to really understand in a proper way that which all responsibilities are there in your plate and which things are done by the cloud vendor. That's very important. Number three is performance optimization. You go ahead and use any particular service. How do you extract the maximum performance out of it? An example could be, you are going ahead and you want more IOPS on your database. Okay, so you go ahead with provisioned IOPS type of EBS volume. Great, because you thought I'll get more IOPS. But if you are not aware that in order to use that, you also need to ensure that the instance type, EC2 instance type, which you are using, should support good amount of IOPS, then your system would not work. So it is important to understand that any service which you are trying out for, in that service, what are key things to look for to improve the performance. Always try to study that part. Next is reliability. How reliable is that service? As a customer, do you need to do something to ensure its high availability, or it is taken care by the cloud vendor already? So that is a question which you should ask always whenever you are reading any service or you are practicing any service. An example could be, if you just create an EC2 instance, Amazon or Azure would not assure you that that service cannot go down, right? There are additional things which you need to do to make your VM highly available. You may look at auto scaling feature probably, and spread it. You can have multiple VMs spread across multiple availability zones to ensure that high availability is there. But that is not something available by default. If you just create one VM, you're not going to do that. But on the same in the same but on the other hand, I would say, if you go ahead and create an S3 bucket, you don't need to do anything. The reliability of S3 bucket is taken care already by AWS. So you don't need to do anything. You just put your file on S3 bucket. It is reliable. You get a durability of 11 nines. Okay, the last point there is operations, right? So in any organization, using a service, provisioning it, that's day one thing. But after that, you also need to think that going forward, how do I maintain its operations? Like, how does a team which is responsible for its day-to-day operation, what all they would do? Is there automation which can be, which we can go ahead and do, so that the manual interaction is reduced? So you need to think from that perspective as well. Some of important things which I can tell you, if you are interested in learning cloud, for AWS, they have videos called "What is my architecture?" So you can go ahead and watch those videos. That would really help you. Follow AWS blog. That would help you. I see that there is a lot of craze among students these days to do a lot of work in community, which is really great. But please make sure that out of your overall time, the amount of time which you are spending to do community work is or should not be more than the time you are actually investing in learning. Okay, I have seen certain scenarios where people are spending 3 hours, you know every day, or whatever duration you can take. They are spending more hours on just doing the community work, but their actual learning on the ground is a lot lesser. So yes, I mean, um, it is very important to have networking. It is very important to know people and all of those things. But at the end, what is most important is that you know the stuff, because that's what will finally take you to places. So please make sure that you keep a balance of working in the community and at that same time diving deep into learning stuff as well. Try to understand the underlying reason for a particular behavior of the service. Okay. um, why do I say this? Many of the times people just try to remember in in their mind that, okay, with a particular service, if I do X, Y would be the effect. They just learn that part. They do not get into the depth and try to question that why does it happen that way. An example is, a lot of people have asked me this question on my dedicated host video, that, tell me, on a in case of a dedicated host, if if the instance EC2 instance is stopped and started, whether the data on instance store would be there or it would get lost, because now the host is fixed. So what would happen? The answer is data would be lost when you stop and start the instance, even on dedicated host. Why so? You need to think about it. The reason is the way EC2 service is designed. It is in such a way that as soon as the service is stopped, the resources which were allocated to that EC2 instance are freed. When I say resources which were there on the host, which means CPU, virtual CPU, RAM, instance store, those things are freed. The EBS volume data doesn't go away, but virtual CPU, RAM, and instance storage, these things are freed. And that's why even on dedicated host, the same behavior is followed. So you need to understand and think in this way to understand the overall working. If you just try to kind of remember that, okay, when we do this, this happens, you'll not get the overall relationship. So that's my suggestion to you guys. Okay. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to present. I'll just take a pause here, and if you guys have any questions which you would like to ask, I'll be happy to answer that. Please let me know. We have got some 8 more minutes here where we can take your questions. Okay, Diksha is asking what is relation between availability zone and region. Um, okay, so let's take an example of, let's answer this from the context of AWS itself. You can think of availability zone um, as a data center. Sometimes it could be a collection of data centers as well. Okay, and region is a physical. Sorry, region is it's a geographic location. A very simple example we can take in India. The AWS region is Mumbai, right? So within Mumbai, whether AWS runs only one data center? No, they run multiple data centers. And those data centers can be seen as availability zones. What is the property of availability zone? Uh, Multiple availability zones within a region are linked to each other or are connected to each other using private network. So in case of Mumbai, for AWS, we have got three availability zones. These three availability zones are connected to each other using Amazon's private network. So which means if you have a machine in availability zone A and a machine in availability zone B, they can talk to each other using their private IP. They need not go to internet. So that is first part. The second thing is these availability zones, different availability zones within a region. Okay, different availability zones within a region are independent of each other. How are they independent? They are independent in terms of all their supplies, which means electricity, cooling, power, all of those, and internet connectivity. All of those things would be independent of each other. So what does that mean? If let's say because of some reason availability zone A goes down, its networking failed, so it would not happen that for availability zone B also it would fail. So that's how they are kept separate. So that's the relationship. Region is basically a geographic presence, and within that you will have multiple availability zones. Okay. Deep Chirag is saying, what is auto scaling? As the name says, auto scaling, automatically scaling the infrastructure. Now, um, if you just take an example of AWS service, in AWS using auto scaling, you can achieve creation of VMs or EC2 instances or servers, to say in very simple terms. It can happen automatically based on the increase of load. So let's say you have an application, it is doing great, maybe you are running a sale, a lot of people are visiting your website, traffic is increasing more and more. You don't need to manually sit and watch it. Rather, you just set up auto scaling, and as per the increasing load, more and more VMs get created. And when the load goes down or load becomes lesser, again the instances will be terminated as well. So that way you don't you are not paying unnecessarily. That's auto scaling. Should sysops can be done before S solution architect? Yes, why not? You can do that. And in fact, my recommendation there would be that people who are um who are who are within the within the experience range of, let's say, up to 0 to 3 years, my suggestion would be that you should try and do sysops first instead of doing solution architect, because sysops certification focuses on the core services of AWS, and goes in depth of those services, compared to the in comparison to the solution architect certificate, where in solution architect certificate the spread is more number of services get covered, but the depth is lesser. So for someone who is new, I would recommend sysops to be the first certification. What is the difference between Amazon S3 and Azure Blob Storage? Um, they have some similarity, that both of them allow you to upload files and do file level operations. But in case of Azure Blob Storage, I mean, um Okay, it's like this. You should, I would say that these are coming from from two different cloud providers. So more or less, you can do same type of use cases with both of these. But when you look at the differences, there will be differences in terms of the hierarchy they follow. There would be differences in terms of their API calls, their pricing, of course, the ability of replicating across regions, etc. So such things would differ. But more or less, both are same type of services in two different cloud providers. Okay, Akanksha is saying, what is AWS Cloud Trail? So AWS Cloud Trail is a service which records all the API calls happening within your account, right? So when you log into your AWS Management Console, and whatever you do, whether you just logged into your AWS Management Console, you click on EC2 dashboard, you go ahead and launch an EC2 instance, stop it, terminate it, create an S3 bucket, anything which you are doing, ultimately it is an API call at the backend. And CloudTrail service records that API call. It would record that, okay, Akanksha did this activity at 8:10 p.m. in the night on this day, right? Whether it was successful or it failed. So that's what it records. I actually have a detailed playlist of CloudTrail where you can learn CloudTrail from zero to end, basically. So if you are interested, just check that on our channel. In the playlist section, you will have a playlist on CloudTrail. Yep. Okay, Pawan is saying egress and ingress. What does that mean? So yeah, okay, this is simple, but sometimes becomes confusing. Ingress, as you can see, in, right? So with in, you should relate. It is inbound. The traffic which is coming, which is inbound. So let's say there is a web server. You created a web server from internet. So many people are trying to hit this web server. So that when from internet somebody opens the website which is running on your web server, this traffic is inbound. Okay, or ingress. What is egress? This machine, this your web server, wants to download a patch or an OS update. So this machine initiates a connection to Microsoft. So this initiation is outbound or egress. That's what it is. Okay, I think we are mostly on time now. I'll just hand it or back to Akanksha to take it to the next level. My contact details are given on the screen, so if you want, you can always get connected with me on those URLs, guys.